Big thank you to Cat Bash, you guys.
Oh, it's just going.
And now we've got the Scammels. We were trying to organise all lady drivers today, but unfortunately a few of them have ducked out. But the green Scammel on the front of this rig, which was built in 1945, is being driven by Christine. Now she's actually a very confident driver, that's why she's on the front. She drives these vehicles on the road and tows on the road, and if someone breaks down, she get them home.
Oh my god!
So that's a 1945 Scammel, that's being driven by Christine. We then have Lucy steering the one behind, which is a tan coloured one. That's a 1950s Scammel Explorer. That's been followed by Debbie driving the blue and yellow one. That's a 1941 Scammel Pioneer gun tractor. Then we unfortunately have a couple of fellas slipped in because we haven't actually got anybody any more ladies that wanted to drive these vehicles. Driving the two green ones at the back, which are the Explorers, and then coming around by itself is the Diamond T Prime Mover that's been converted to a recovery vehicle. Someone said to me earlier when we were linking these up, does that front one really tow everything? And the simple answer is yes, it does. It tows it, not through sheer power, but through torque, low rev engines, low ratio gearboxes, or very low ratio gearboxes, and weight. That front vehicle goes about 14 tonnes, and it's towing about 50 tonnes behind it. So you've got 65 tonne of gross train weight. Now, there's only 102 horsepower in the engine in the front vehicle. Most modern diesel cars have more than 102 horsepower. But the difference is that only does 1,750 revs flat out, and maximum torque is at 1,100 revs. Your car will tick over at about 800 revs, and also your car will do over 100 miles an hour. That vehicle was designed to do 24 miles an hour flat out. The ones behind it, the sand coloured one, they had a slightly larger engine, about 200 horsepower, and they were designed to do about 45. The blue and yellow one is the same engine as the first one, and that's 168 horsepower, 24 miles an hour, and the two green ones are the same as the sand coloured ones on the back. The Diamond T that's coming round, the bright red one that says AC Car from Sun Recovery, that was originally had about a 200 horsepower Hercules engine in it. It's now got a supercharged 355 horsepower coming to it. Now, I go back to the earlier question about, is it really the first vehicle doing all the work? Yes, it is. So why have they all got their engines running? Well, there's two reasons for this. One is we have to be very safety conscious. We would hate to see one of them come through the barrier and hurt damage the vehicle. So they've all got air-assisted braking. It's not air braking like a modern vehicle, it's air-assisted braking. So you have a little air cylinder, so you have the normal rod-operated brakes, like you did with pre-war cars, and you have a little cylinder that gives it a bit of power, so the air allows it to stop a bit quicker. Also on the Explorers, that's the yellow one sandwiched between the two Pioneers and the two dark green ones on the back, they have air-assisted steering. It is air-assisted, but you can't really steer it without any air. They are very, very difficult to steer without any air. So that's why we have the engines running, so that if anything goes wrong, they can steer and they can actually stop it, because obviously stopping is the most important thing. So, a little bit more about these vehicles. I've just given you a brief overview. What were they built for? Well, the majority of these Scammels that people know for the Army, and the ones that we've got here, were built as recovery trucks. Breakdown tractors, in Army terminology, breakdown tractor medium wheeled, 10 tonne. But they never weigh 10 tonne, and they always took more than 10 tonne. For instance, the one on the front, which is the 1945 wartime vehicle, when they were clearing up in the desert, either after a campaign or after the war, they used to do things called quick trains, which they had a recovery crew go out, and this recovery crew would drive across the desert, and any vehicle that got its wheels that was towable would be dropped on the back of the quick train. So it started off with the truck unit, one vehicle, two vehicles, three vehicles, and they could go up to 30 vehicles. So that was one of the things they did. They were recovery vehicles. They were also used, the blue and yellow one in the middle is actually a gun tractor, or in military parlance, tractor heavy artillery. And that originally would have pulled a 7.2-inch howitzer. Well, no disrespect, what we've been doing in here today is relatively small guns. If you've seen in your reenactment, some of the biggest of them are 76 millimetre. So the 7.2-inch howitzer is a huge shell, and the vehicles that towed them had to be quite large. They did later in the war convert to 5.5-inch howitzers, but as more of the AC Matadors became available with the 5.5s, the Scammells got echeloned through, or demoted if you want, whatever terms you want to use, into being tractors for engineering plants. The Royal Engineers used them for towing bulldozers, for towing steamrollers or road rollers and that sort of equipment. The people that would make the roads or make the airfields used them. So that's what they were for. They also got used for a lot of other things because of their pulling capacity. There's a story in 1946 where the light aid detachment, supposedly the light aid detachment, light being one Scammell, was actually used for moving concrete rings across the desert to help out the Royal Engineers. And they did 1,500 miles in 4 days, which is quite incredible. That meant they were probably driving all the time, just changing drivers, at an average of 7 miles to the gallon, with about 40-ton load behind them, which is quite incredible because everyone says, well, what's it like on fuel consumption? Well, the green one on the front does do about 10 miles per gallon, which sounds bad compared to the pound per car, but compared to other things here, that's very good. The sand-coloured one and the 2 green ones on the back, the Scammell Explorers, they were recently fitted with a Meadows petrol engine. Now, the army at the time of the 50s were trying to make everyone on petrol, as petrol was easily available around the world. But the Meadows petrol engine would only do a couple of miles per gallon. And I mean literally a couple of miles per gallon. The problem then became, what do you do afterwards? Well, when they come into Civvy Street, they all got converted to diesel engines. The 3 that we've got here have got diesel engines. But 2 miles per gallon was when they were empty. If you loaded them, they were actually using gallons to the mile. So you've got a 50-gallon tank, and if you've got a heavy load on it, you'd be refilling that every 25 miles. Now you can imagine how much that costs. So us as hobbyists, because these are our toys, can't afford that sort of fuel. Whereas diesel at 10 or 12 or 8 to the gallon, we can just about afford, or we can afford that. So they are big boys' toys. Now, the Diamond T that's travelling around by itself, and we're not being snobbish, but this is a Scammell too, but the Diamond T is also a very important part of our military history. They were built to a British Purchasing Commission requirement in America as a tank transporter. And unlike the Scammell tank transporter, which was an articulated unit we call it today, it was a prime mover and trailer. There are advantages in both directions. Personally, I have a preference for prime mover and trailer. Now, what a prime mover is just a lorry that moves things. That's what it means. So that thing originally, now it's got a recovery crane on it, that originally would have had a ballast box on it and be filled up with 8, 10, 12 tons of ballast. And then they were used with a trailer, they towed a trailer to move tanks around and also engineering plants. We do actually, there is a visitor on site today who after the war drove those for a living in the army, and they were dragging out the cab and they stopped in to go off, to fill up the fuel. I'm just going to call the Diamond T over into the middle here, if I can see me. Just so we can stop it. There'll be you'll see the reason for this in a minute, but if we bring the Diamond T into the middle so you can actually have a look at it. These are quite an incredible unit. As I say, these were originally fitted with a 200 horsepower Hercules engine, and that was a very good engine. When the army was reusing them after the war, they re-engined them with Rolls Royces. The Rolls Royce engine was a similar capacity and similar horsepower, but had a wider rev band and a wider power band, so they actually got along a lot faster. But there is a story of these where there's a hill that is nearly just over 3/4 of a mile long outside of Fulworth, and they'd take a Centurion up the hill with these, and it would take an hour to climb the hill. So you think we're slow at 24 miles an hour, we apologise if we're ever in front of you. If you imagine 3/4 of a mile in an hour, that is really slow, isn't it? So you don't want to be stuck behind that. But this has now got a twin Holmes wreck on it, which was quite a common conversion after the war for recovery companies. And the engine in this one now is actually quite a famous engine. It is a Cummins engine that's in there now, and these engines were built especially for Wynn's heavy haulage. I don't know if you've ever seen the history of Wynn's. They were one of the premier heavy haulage fleets in this country, and they used a lot of ex-military equipment, Diamond T's and Pacifics, and the engines, they wore them out basically, so they had these special engines built, 335 horsepower front engines, plus a supercharger. So one of those engines has found its way into this. It was originally efficient for a Pacific. I'm just going to stop the convoy when they straighten up, just get them a little bit further forward, because we want to unhitch and have the yellow one at the front. We're just going to unhitch you. We're going to unhitch you, and you come around the old back. If I can find John, can you jump down a minute? John, can you jump down a minute? We're just going to embarrass a guy here. It's always good to embarrass the drivers occasionally. But we're going to unhitch this front vehicle. Okay, we're just going to take the Pioneer off the front now. This is the, I say, 1945. Chris, if you can go round to the back and hitch up on the back, please. This Pioneer also has our intrepid reporter in, Casey. She's actually the daughter of the lady, the family that owned number 2. And she's going to be writing up for this for various magazines. The reason I want this yellow one on the front isn't to embarrass Lucy, although she's not looking at me very happily, is the fact that this is actually the winner of the heavy vehicle section this year. And we'll be staying in here at the end of this for the prize giving. So I'm not sure if Lucy's got the confidence to actually drive everything, or whether she's going to let her husband do it. But I see no reason why she can't put it in first gear and go around the arena. But we just get the other one hooked up on the back, and then we'll see what we can do. While she's tension up, if you'd like to give the driver of the green one a big round of applause, because she did well to pull that around the arena. She is quite experienced, I have to say, but it's always nice for her to get a round of applause. We always think these are big boys' toys, but without our wives we wouldn't be able to get on and do most of the work that we do. And that is actually my lorry that she's driving. But the blue and yellow one is actually her own lorry, which I gave to her as a Christmas present some years ago. And unlike many people, she was happy to get it as a Christmas present. It didn't end in divorce, which unfortunately often happens when people have military vehicles. So we're just hitching up that vehicle now. We just have to do it all nice and slowly, because obviously if something goes wrong it hurts and we break fingers and whatever, and we don't really want to do that. We're all here to have a good time. So that's hitched up. Are you ready, Lucy? Are you ready? Alright, here, come up. Just let Lucy's husband come back, who's the coach, and we'll have Lucy take everyone round. And then, yeah, sorry, yeah, we're trying to keep it all Scammel for a little while after the presentation. We're pleased to have you in here, but we're just trying to keep a few Scammels together. So here we go. Are we ready? Big round of applause for Lucy when she gets rolling. This is the first time she's ever done this, by the way. I'm quite embarrassed her by doing this. She's been number 2 a number of times when we've had big groups. And off we go. Give her a big round of applause. I'm going to need bonus for this tonight, by the way, but we can worry about that later. Whee! Keep going. And there we go, you can hear the Rolls-Royce engine of that working hard. As I mentioned earlier, all of these have been converted when they come into Civvy Street, that had the petrol engines in them. And we've got Rolls-Royce and Leyland engines in these, and they're just showing that they've got these little horns to let everybody know. So we'll be when they come back round the arena, we'll be signing off. But we are parked just beyond the arena, beyond Camp Bastion. As you look at the arena to your right-hand side, we also have a photographic display there of Scammell vehicles with the club called the Scammell Register, of which all of these people are members of. So you're more than welcome to come down, have a look, have a chat. Arthur's just going to move the big diamond T. That is the most powerful vehicle we got out of this group. And yesterday he was towing the whole lot round, and we had an American Warden of France also towing around. But we have to give different people the opportunity. So you can just see the size of the bonnet of this as it comes past you. It is a massive vehicle. Like I say, they were actually used by the American Army as well as by the British Army, but they were classed as non-standard by the Americans, and they replaced them with the Pacific tractor trailer combination. But initially, when America first came into the war in 1941, December 41, it wasn't ready for war, so they took whatever was in production. And the beauty of America is they could step up production very quickly. They were in their day the masters of mass production. The Lancaster that we saw flying earlier, which was a wonderful display, that one was actually British built, but a lot of Lancasters were built in Canada, and they actually had the the Packard license-built Rolls-Royce engine in them. And the Americans were just able to switch on manufacturers very quickly because their home economy was so large that they were used to making large volumes. If you consider that the size of that power factory would fit into one state of America. So here we have the prize winner being driven by the wife. She didn't know she was going to do this when she came in, so I'm going to be in serious trouble.
Alright, no worries.
So we're going to pull her up in a minute and stop, and then we'll unhitch her and put her into the middle so she stays here for the prize giving, and then we'll take the other heavy scammels out. And then you're welcome to come down and see us, have a look, have a chat. Thank you very much. There you go, big round of applause for them, ladies and gentlemen. As I can imagine, they've got a fuel going around in circles like that. And it all comes out of their own pockets. The show doesn't supply any fuel or anything like that, so they do this for their own pleasure and your pleasure to show their vehicles off. So we're going to unhook the Scammell convoy now. What we've got coming in next is just a little bit of a prize giving. It's just in showing their appreciation to the people who do come along and support the show and put on the display for you so you can come along and have a good day. So we're going to clear the arena, get in the people that have won their prizes. We'll get through it as quick as possible, and then we'll move on to the next item. So bear with us, we'll reset the arena, bring in the prize givers, and off we go. Don't worry about the rain, ladies and gentlemen. I've been told skin is waterproof. So there you go. No need for umbrellas, just stand there and take the rain.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it might be time to break out the umbrellas. I think it's going to be a passing shower, so I shouldn't worry too much about it.